Hello there. General Kenobi. Anyway, today we're going to have a look at an interesting pen. I was contacted by Tom of Goldspot Pens and he said, listen, if we do an exclusive collaboration with Saillor, would you review it? And I said, sure. As I know, that's not really what happened. He said, do you want to review it? I said, absolutely. So, here we have, I will admit, I find it very, very attractive. The Saillor 1911, this is the standard model. There's also a large model in Royal Amethyst. And I'll be honest, I usually kind of disregard the 1911 standard because it's a bit small for me. But I really like this one. It is very, very pretty, and it has a stellar nib. In other words, we have something to talk about. So, I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I will do a writing sample. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, but before we do that, a very kind thank you to Tom for sending me this pen. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure that you all will appreciate it as well, to have a good look, closer look at this pen. So let's not waste any time, let's get started. Alright, let's have a look at the Saillor 1911 standard in the Royal Amethyst finish. So here we have the box. This is again a Goldspot exclusive. I've always liked the Saillor boxes because I like that cutout. Waterman used to do something similar. What's in the box? Well, there's a little pen sleeve and there is a little pen bed and there's all kinds of things. So there is a Saillor ink converter which had its own little baggie and some instructions on how to use it, but I may have used a converter once before in my life. And there is this bookmark which I thought was actually very nice. I mean, I read a lot, so I go through bookmarks. There are two black cartridges and there is a little Saillor filling instructions, etc. booklet. So let's put all this back and then let's have a look at the pen. So here we have the pen. This is the 1911 standard. This is $220. There also is a more expensive large version. Looks the same, but is larger, right? Let's zoom in a bit. Nibs 14 karat on this model, extra fine through broad, and then zoom and music nib. The zoom is a special nib that Saillor does, and that gives you line variation depending on what angle you use it under. But this is a music nib, because that's what I requested. Okay, let's look at the parts of the pen. Excuse me, I have to take a sip of tea. Okay, I've been sufficiently teed up. I can now continue. Finial, right, same material as the pen. Always hard, especially on the white. I think it looks a bit bluish. So if I hold it against my hands, you may be able to see it is an actual amethyst color. And I will say, I'm usually not one for colored translucent pens, but this is a very pretty material. Okay, the standard Saillor clip, which I've always liked with those lines on it. It's almost like a flight of stairs, which I always liked. Then we have the center band, which says Saillor, Japan, founded 1911. We have the barrel, tapers down ever so slightly, ends up there. It's not a piston turning knob because it's a cartridge converter filled pen. The pen, well, this is the standard model. It's not the largest pen in the world, but it does post very reliably, and then in my mind, given that this is mostly plastic, makes for a very nicely balanced and very comfortable pen. I really like it. I've always preferred the larger model because I have somewhat larger hands, but I found this to be very comfortable, especially posted, and given that it's such a pretty finish, I really enjoy using this one. Cartridge converter comes supplied with the pen. This happens to be a chrome colored one, and all the trims are gold. A shame, but I don't really care because once you actually put the barrel on the section, you don't even see it, right? You don't see that this is chrome colored. Anyway, okay, section tapers down, simple shape, and then we have the nib, which is gold, 14 karat gold, engraved with the Saillor that says 1911. It has the Anchor logo, 14K 585, and with the Saillor nibs, there's an indicator of the nib grade on the side, right? So this says MS, I think they used to, yeah, MS for music. This is a 2-tine music nib, not 3 tines, but it is actually very, very nice. And I will show you that right now. I am going to post it as I write with it. There we go. Okay, so let me zoom out a little bit. Yeah. What am I doing? I was just about to comment on how very wet this nib is, so I think that was maybe just a bit dried out because I was swinging it around uncapped. This is the standard. This is the Royal Amethyst. This is the music nib. And this is Waterman Purple, which I thought was a pretty stellar combination with this pen, even if I say so myself. Okay, bit of writing. I have found writing with this pen to be an absolute pleasure. It's a nice, very broad and pretty juicy nib. Very nice line variation too. And you notice that it does suffer a bit, huh, with the fast writing. Interesting, because when I was using it, it definitely felt very wet, but maybe if we push it in the right way, in speed and such, that it does become a little drier. That's interesting. I hadn't noticed that in normal writing. But you see there were a couple of startups, right? I mean, it's... yeah, I guess it's not as wet as it... maybe because it's such a broad nib, it came across wetter to me than it actually was. Interesting. Being a music nib, to be honest, it's kind of a stub, really. So you get this natural line variation. Which I like a lot. So this is without any pressure. You could exert a bit of pressure, as always, very, very careful. I think it really is a very nice nib. And again, I really enjoy using this pen. It's been a lot of fun to play with. Strictly speaking, I was once told by Aziza a music nib should write in this, like, perpendicular to the paper, so that you can write music nibs. You can write music notes, which I cannot, as you can obviously see. But it does do that, right? It allows for this very fine line, broader lines, etc. Very interesting. Yeah. Okay. What else do we have? Reverse writing. Well, it's a stub, right? So that's typically not very successful. And you can see that here too. You do get a fine line, but it's so light you can barely read it. So I wouldn't buy the nib if that is your sole purpose. But if you want a finer nib, of course you could do something radical and buy a fine nib. Now, let's talk about what I like and what I don't like about this pen. Okay, what do I like about the Saillor 1911 Standard Royal Amethyst? Well, first of all, again, I have been writing with it quite a bit, and I actually found it to write very pleasantly, so I don't know if it had dried out a little bit before I did the writing sample. I found it to be very responsive and a very pleasant writer. Having said that, I think it is a beautiful finish. It's hard to capture on camera, but it is pretty much amethyst, so they captured that very nicely. Very pleasant to use, a nice writer, a very nice nib lineup, including some fancier nibs like a zoom, like a music nib, so it's not just a fine or just a medium. You actually go all the way from extra fine to broad and have the zoom and music. I think that's a very nice choice of nibs that you have. I think it's very nice. A cartridge converter fill is always the eternal thing. Should it be a piston fill or should it be not? Well, it would be really cool if it was, but on the other hand, a cartridge converter is very easy to clean, so There are pros and cons. Of course, the issue with this is that Saillor uses proprietary cartridges and converters. So my biggest issue with the Saillor converter is quite simply that it doesn't hold much ink. There is just not a lot of capacity. It's not a huge converter. You could refill cartridges, I mean, you could do all sorts of things, and then someone's going to ask, can you eyedropper it? I haven't tried it. There's a metal ring there. I don't know if that is actually on the inside as well. I don't know, I haven't tried it. Don't forget there is metal here as well on the section, so I wouldn't necessarily try that. Things I don't like so much, not a lot. It's not super cheap, 220 US cartridge converter filled pen. Not an outstanding material like an Arco celluloid or something like that, but it is a limited edition. It is very pretty material. It does have a 14 karat gold nib, and it is an exclusive pen, right? It's an exclusive for Goldspot, and you know that adds to the price of the pen. That's just the way it is. I like it, and this is one that I would consider buying, especially given the way it has performed for me. Comfortable, nice, beautiful pen. So, I like it a lot. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.